your power bar can also take animations instead of sprites. It's very similar to how you do your life bar. Background 0 for a life bar would be, background 0 for a power bar is an individual background for just the power bar. I don't need to have that since I have this big background for the life bars. It'll also serve as a background for the power bar, which will sit about right here. So it has the same exact parameters as the backgrounds for the life bars. Background P1 background 1 is the empty power bar for when you don't have any power. I don't have that image because I did not want an empty power bar. I might change my mind about that later and make an image, but right now I don't. The front is for when you have power, which is this image right here. Now, there is a mid-ground for the power bar, just like there's a mid-ground for the life bar, but I deleted it because even though I made an image for it and I tried to set it up, it didn't seem to work. And you really will probably never see the mid-ground flash for power bar, because when you power up, you just see the empty image or the full image. You don't see any like power progressing bar. And I did try and do this and I didn't see it, so I just deleted it. It will be there in a fresh Mugen fight definition file. This is not a fresh Mugen fight definition file. I've used this file before. I just sometimes prefer to use a file that I've already modified so I don't have to modify certain things again. The X range is similar to the X range and the life bar set with the back and the front settings. And for player 1, again, this is the side that's closest to the clock and this is close to the left edge of the screen, and you need to know the width of your power bar and how far it's offset from the left edge of the screen or right edge of the screen if you're working on P2. So it sits about right here, so that's probably like 15 pixels. So I need to first set the offset to about 15 in the X direction and then add the offset to the sprite width down here in the first portion of the X range. And I'm going to put in some bogus number and say it's about 200. Wait a minute, that's not right. The first number is going to be the offset, whatever your offset was, and I said the offset should be about 15 pixels. I also need to change this up here to 15. And then I think the sprite's probably like 100 pixels, so it'll be 115. And the front end, and you want to do the same thing for P2, but remember that when you're dealing with an X range, the front end for P2's power bar would be this side, which would be closer to the clock, and the back end would be this side, which is closer to the right edge of the screen. And you need to again take the offset from, you need to subtract the offset from whatever the animation. Okay, that's not right. You need to subtract your image width from your offset when you're dealing with P2 and P4. When you're dealing with P1 and P3, you need to add your width to the offset to create the back end number and to create the front end numbers. That's how you do it for P1 and P2. Remember, it's subtraction for P2 and addition for P1. The P2 counter is the counter that tells you whether you're in the first, second, or third power state, and this is the font, and this is the offset, so you can change the numbers here to position it anywhere. The level sounds happen to be the sound you hear every time you hit a new level, and you can change those, but that's part of the fight system sounds, and I'll show you how to change it later. It's very similar to how you would change or order sprites in Fighter Factory. So it's very similar. This action number was actually because my power bar was a true animation. See all these numbers? See all these animations. It was a true moving animation as opposed to using the animation just to change the transparency. And since mine is going to be a sprite assisted animation, I've changed everything back. Oops, apparently I didn't. I need to change everything back to sprite and then put in the sprite numbers. Also, some things when you first open them are going to have a default animation instead of a default sprite. This was always an animation. When you open a fresh Mugen fighting definition, this should be an animation as well. Once you've done all that, it's time for you to work on faces. The player 1 position is a master position for all the face elements. The background 0 is a background for your portrait, but you do not have to have a background if, let's say, you have one for